This brings us to our keynote speaker. From collegiate football and early medical school admission to 2 tours in Iraq and a prestigious spine fellowship at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, Stephen J. Sear, MD, has pursued his childhood dream of being an athlete and a spine surgeon with many successes and blessings along the way. Dr. Sear's passion for serving others is evident in his life. When he is not treating patients, he is actively involved in educating children and serving his community. Dr. Sear created an original comic series, The Osteocore, in an effort to encourage children to learn about science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, often called STEAM. His artwork and storyline have caught the eye of many industry insiders, ranging from television to movie producers. The characters are based on actual medical terminology, and their powers help teach readers about how different processes in the body function. Along with a cast of 4 costumed heroes and 4 villains, all volunteers, Dr. Sear travels to charitable events and to schools teaching children about STEAM. Dr. Sear resides here in San Antonio, Texas with his wife, Leanne, and their 4 amazing children, 2 girls and 2 boys. Let's give a warm welcome, Tex Prep, to Dr. Stephen Sear.
Thank you very much, Jules. So I just want to come talk to you guys a little bit about how important what you're doing is. First of all, a little bit more about my background. I'm actually a San Antonio product. My father was in the military, and I went to 1st grade at Pecan Valley. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Pecan Valley. To 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and 4th grade at John Glenn Elementary. And then I went overseas. My father was stationed in the Philippines, and so I lived on an Air Force base for about 8 years through all of middle school and the majority of my high school. In the middle of my senior year, my father retired, and we came back to our home in San Antonio. So I graduated from East Central High School. So I'm a San Antonio boy, all right? I think it's important you guys know that San Antonio has produced a lot of scientific and STEAM-based innovators and inventors. There are a lot of amazing things that have come out of San Antonio. Some of those things you may not even be aware of. Do you know that the camera phone that she's about to take a picture with or videotape it right now was created by a local San Antonio person? His name is David Monroe. He's a good friend of mine. David Monroe created the camera phone. He also created teleradiology. So when we send images between computers, that's done through a format called teleradiology. Mr. Monroe created teleradiology. And he also created missile guidance systems for the military. He's a San Antonio product. We also have other amazing inventors. The wound vacuum that we use for open, terribly contaminated wounds and surgery was created by a local San Antonio native. Actually, a local San Antonio professor at St. Philip's College created several innovations, one being instant mashed potatoes. He improved soft serve ice cream. I'm sure most of you guys can approve of that. And there also was an invention that allowed water, Dasani water specifically, to have a better flavor. So this was all Dr. Davis out of St. Philip's College. There have been a lot of amazing things that have come out of San Antonio. The cardiac stent is also a life-saving invention that came from Dr. Paul Maz in San Antonio. And believe it or not, internet, not Al Gore, but San Antonio, from DataPoint. It was created from DataPoint. DataPoint was also responsible for the microchip that they accidentally or mistakenly sold to Intel, who now has credit for the microchip, but that was created out of San Antonio. The MRI, if you guys don't know what an MRI is, it's a very special image that we use to identify soft tissue anatomy and pathology in medicine. The MRI was created by a scientist out of Brooks Air Force Base in San Antonio. The bottom line is there are a lot of brilliant people that have come out of San Antonio, and they have made a dramatic impact not only on this community but on the world as a whole. And those people coming from your town have led the way for you guys who clearly understand how important it is to focus on STEM-based occupations and STEM-based knowledge. Everything that we do, almost everything we do in this world that gives us convenience and comfort comes from a STEM-based mind, somebody who had this spark, this intellect, this creative genius to make something a reality from which was once a thought. So I encourage you all to continue doing what you're doing. Education is the key to success. What's amazing about education to me, and the reason that education is so important to me, is that you have control of your education. There are a lot of things in this world that are dictated by someone else's opinion of your talent, whether it's athletics or singing, entertainment in general. And if you're talented in those things, then God bless you with those talents, please pursue that. But never forget that you are the sole master of your ability to become educated. And that's unique in that when you decide to devote yourself and your time to studying and learning and propelling yourself academically, that only you can dictate whether or not you're successful or unsuccessful. If you continue to understand how important education is to your life and how much of an impact you can make not only on your own individual life, but on the life of others, then you will hopefully continue along the route that you've already started. So I congratulate you all for making that step and devoting your time over the summer when you could have been doing little to nothing and doing something a lot more productive. And so I congratulate you and your families who have supported you along the way. So you should be proud of that. I truly believe that every one of us has been gifted with a special talent, some of us with more than one talent. And it's really your goal in life is to identify what that talent is and to use that talent for the betterment of mankind. And that's what creates a truly purposeful life. A true life of purpose comes from identifying what God gave you as a gift and then turning that gift around to others. And when you can find that gift and you can give it to other people, that's when you feel true contentment. And so I encourage you guys to continue to work really hard to make a difference in the world. And although you're young, you can change the world, even at this age. Some of the most amazing inventions in the world came from young minds. Philo Farnsworth was only 17 when he created the television. So there are a lot of people out there that have created ideas even at a very early age. Minorities from multiple different backgrounds have innovated and created amazing changes in our world from their ideas. The television is an example of a young mind, but the traffic light, revolutionizing the way that we process food, and we can multiply food availability to countries where there's sparse food availability. George Washington Carver. There are a lot of amazing things that can be done. That's the bottom line. And I encourage you guys to keep working in a way that encourages your education. You have control of that. Please take advantage of it. America is an amazing place, and you have a lot of support. You have the support of a host of teachers, clearly a familial support that got you to where you are today. Education is the key to success. A STEM-based job currently allows a person with a bachelor's degree to make more than or as much as most other non-STEM-based master's degree and even PhD professions. So STEM-based jobs are the focus, the key to our advancement as an economy and our advancement as a country. Continue to work hard. One of the biggest things that we see in medicine and science and STEM in general is that a lot of our PhDs are coming from foreign countries. They come to America, they learn in our schools, and unfortunately a lot of them return to their home countries. And that's unfortunate for us as a global community. That's good for the world, but we really want to encourage our people and our American children to educate themselves in these STEM-based occupations, to get your PhD, to get your master's, to make a difference in the world, whether it's science, technology, engineering, or mathematics. As a spine surgeon, I don't know if you guys know how to become a spine surgeon, but the way that works is you go to college, you get accepted to medical school, you do a residency that typically takes between 5 and 6 years, and then to specialize in spine surgery, it's another year. But all along the way, even though I always wanted to play football, I never lost my focus. And I played football in college, but I never let my GPA suffer because I knew that at the end of the day, that was something that was in my control, that I could make sure that my grades were good enough to get into medical school and ultimately from medical school to a challenging residency. And when you're able to do that, you can really make a difference in your life and the future of your generations to follow you and your family. So continue to work hard. I wanted to make sure when I created the OsteoCore that children and adults as well understood how exciting STEM is and how amazing STEM is when you learn about how the body works specifically, how engineering can be applied to our everyday life, how physics, I use biomechanical engineering every day as a spine surgeon when I fix an unstable spine or a crooked spine, when I'm providing fixation to a part of the body that has lost its stability to hold itself stable. Those principles, although you may think that as you learn these things in school, how is this ever going to apply to my life? It does. Every day I use joint reactive forces, lever arms, I use physics, fulcrums. All of those things are important to me. Biomechanical constructs require engineering, an engineering background. So what you guys are doing is vital to future jobs and future advancements in our society. So I can encourage you to do that. So on that note, some of you guys were able to meet me in the breezeway, and I introduced to you briefly the concept of osteocore. I am a father of 4, and I understand how sometimes learning may not be as exciting as we want it to be, especially when we're young. And so in order to make learning fun and to express to people how exciting it is to me, I wanted to relay that in a format that I thought would be relatable to children through entertainment. And superheroes and supervillains are essential in today's world. You know, we watch these stories every day. However, they don't have much impact or much of an input in what we do educationally. And my hope through creating the osteocore is to show you that as you learn about these battles inside the body and outside the body, that you understand the principles of science and technology, engineering and math, and how they really relate to our bodies, and how we use those principles to heal the body when it's damaged or injured in some way. So I'm going to introduce to you guys, we brought some of the live characters. This is typically what we do is we travel school to school, and I introduce the concept of STEM, and I express to them what these characters mean. They're more than just superheroes. They are superpowered characters, some of them good, some of them bad. The bad ones are ill or sick. Not all disease process makes people bad, but it makes them ill. And so my villains are more, they're sick. And so I want people to understand what that looks like in reality. So these characters come to the schools, and I brought them with me today to introduce to you one by one. I have 4, there are about 26 characters, so I brought 8, 4 good guys, 4 bad guys. So I'm going to introduce them to you. I know that we have a long program. I'm going to try to make this quick. So I'm going to introduce to you the characters one by one, and I'm going to explain to you what they are, what their names mean, because all of the names are based on real medical terminology, real scientific principles, and that way hopefully you can understand how cool this stuff can be. Our first character is an 11-year-old, so he's very similar to some of your ages. He's 11 years old, and when he's exposed, he and his brother and his sister are the first superheroes in the comic, and some of you guys have already read that. But what happens to them is that they accidentally are exposed to stem cells, and the stem cells convert their bodies into optimal physiologic function. Each individual character or person is converted based on their personality traits, and so every character has a different power that's optimized, a different cellular system that's optimized. So the first character I'm going to introduce is an 11-year-old who becomes about 20-ish in the comic, but he's really muscular. He has multiple cell types that are optimized. Myoblasts are muscle cells, his osteoblasts, which are bone cells, bone-forming cells, his neurons, so he has very quick reflexes, and he has a genius intellect. But basically, he is pretty much the ultimate superhero, and his name is Captain Osteon. He's got giant muscles. His optimized myoblasts are responsible for his musculature. This is Captain Osteon. And his older sister, who's 15, she develops the power primarily of the osteoblast, which is a cell responsible for healing of broken bones. She also has the ability to fly. Her name is Fusion. The next character is only 6 years old in the comic, and he's the youngest brother. And just like in medicine, when we treat younger people, they tend to have a more dramatic response to the treatment. So when this young kid is exposed to the stem cells, he becomes massive, and his body becomes melded with cobalt chrome metal, which is the type of metal we use for joint replacement surgery and sometimes in spine surgery. So his name is Cobalt Chrome. And the final character from the osteocore that's here today is actually a friend of Dr. Sijin, the main character and mentor to the osteocore, who gets converted intentionally by mixing titanium metal with the Genesis stem cell serum. And his name is Crosslink. And just like all superhero stories, there are always some bad guys. And unfortunately in medicine, there are pathologic systems that are responsible for disease and injury. And in this story, when Dr. Sijin's colleagues find out about his discovery, the intent initially of the Genesis serum that's created by Dr. Sijin in the comic is to use the serum to inoculate people from around the world to eliminate and heal disease and injury. But when his colleagues find out of his discovery, instead of helping him to perpetuate that, they steal it. And because it's based on stem cells, just like in medicine, when stem cells are exposed to cancer, it enhances the cancer. So they become supervillains because of their malicious intent. And the head of the malunion, which is the name of the bad guys, in medicine, just so you know, a malunion is a bone that breaks but heals crooked. And that's the name of the characters that are bad in the comic. They're led by a neurosurgeon and previous friend of Dr. Sijin's, Fracture. You can see Fracture's body is made of solid bone, and those red lines in his body are actually cracks. They're fractures. In the world of medicine, an osteoclast is the cell responsible for broken bone and dissolution of bone. So his power is the osteoclast. Essentially anything he touches comminutes or fragments into multiple small pieces, and he can actually intentionally comminute his own body and reaccumulate in another location. So he's a formidable opponent, and he's got the mind of a neurosurgeon, so he's a pretty intelligent villain as well. His right-hand man, who also is a neurosurgeon and who also had malicious intent, and because of that became a supervillain, his name is Vertebro. One of their henchmen, unfortunately, is a friend of Dr. Sijin's in the comic who gets poisoned by their serum. When they steal the serum, they actually poison it with cancer cells. And so it makes even good people sick, converting some of Dr. Sijin's friends into villains as well. And the first villain we're going to introduce is Slip Disc. Slip disc is a layman's term for a herniated disc. When you tear the disc and it herniates out of position, that's called a slip disc. So this is Slip Disc, and he's a DJ friend of Dr. Sijin's who becomes ill and septic. In keeping with his name, he has poisonous discs that he throws to create osteomyelitis, which is an infection in the bone. And his son, who's a good friend to Cobalt Chrome's before he becomes poisoned, his body actually becomes rusted metal because of oxidation. Oxidation in our bodies occurs through free radicals. When there's a free electron floating around, it tries to find other electrons to pair with, and it causes tissue damage and destruction and diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and cardiac disease. So his name is Corrosion. So here they are. These are the osteocore and the malunion. And the bottom line is I just want kids to understand that science and STEM in general can be interesting to learn. It doesn't have to come in a boring textbook all the time. So when you look at the comic and you read about the storyline, if you look in the back of the comic, each of those comics has a glossary that defines medical terms or scientific terms you may be unfamiliar with. in an effort to teach about these different concepts. So I want to let you guys know that I'm really proud of what you're doing, and I know that for sure you are the future of this city, hopefully the future of this world. You can make a difference. Each and every one of you guys has the potential to change the world. Devote yourself to studying, making a difference through education. Innovate, create, teach the love of learning, enjoy learning. It will certainly give you the equipment necessary for a successful life. God bless you all. Thank you very much.